Imagine standing in the exact center of what is now the United States, 1,000 years ago. You aren't looking at an untouched, empty wilderness. You are looking at a hyper-organized megacity. It is teeming with up to 15,000 people. This city is called Cahokia. At its peak in the 11th century, it was larger than contemporary London, England. Yet, your textbooks skipped right over it. To understand the true origin of this continent, we have to look back to the Mississippian culture around the year 1050 AD. This was a sophisticated agrarian chiefdom. At the heart of Cahokia stood Monk's Mound, a structure built by moving 22 million cubic feet of soil, one basketful at a time. This took sheer human willpower. From the summit, the supreme leader, ruling with unquestioned religious and political authority, could look down at a central plaza large enough to hold over 40 football fields. Here, thousands gathered to play a high-stakes, hyper-aggressive sport called chunky. Players hurled polished stone discs across the clay plaza at breakneck speeds. Cahokia's true power lay in its economic reach. Archaeologists have uncovered shark teeth from the Gulf of Mexico, brilliant sheets of mica, and pure copper from the Great Lakes. They even built their own monument to time, a massive solar calendar made of giant red cedar posts that modern researchers call Woodhenge. It precisely tracked the solstices. But by 1350 AD, this entire metropolis was completely abandoned. No warfare, no violent invasion. It simply became a ghost town. While the Mississippians were mastering the rivers, another incredible civilization was conquering the brutal, arid deserts of the Southwest. These were the ancestral Puebloans. Look at this structure, Pueblo Bonito. This single, massive apartment-style complex stood up to 5 stories tall and contained over 600 interconnected rooms. Deep beneath the desert floor, they carved out kivas, sacred circular underground chambers used for secret religious ceremonies and political councils. The ancestral Puebloans were master astronomers. Their entire architectural landscape was built as a giant cosmic clock, tracking the heavens with mathematical precision. But as the climate shifted around 1200 AD, their strategy grew even more radical. They moved their entire society off the canyon floors and built their villages directly into cliff walls. It was also an impenetrable defense system. If an enemy tried to attack, the inhabitants simply pulled up their wooden access ladders, leaving invaders completely exposed. In the late 1200s, a devastating 25-year mega drought crippled the region. With water sources dried up, the ancestral Puebloans migrated south and east. By the time the 1400s arrived, the collapse of these centralized empires gave rise to an incredibly diverse patchwork of complex nations, adapted perfectly to their microenvironments. In the Northeast, 5 fierce competing nations were locked in a brutal cycle of warfare. But a visionary leader known as the Great Peacemaker brought them together under a revolutionary concept, the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois Confederacy. They are burying their weapons beneath the roots of a giant white pine tree. They established the Great Law of Peace, a sophisticated oral constitution. It featured a bicameral legislature, strict checks and balances, and an executive veto power. This exact structure would deeply inspire the United States Constitution. Across the continent, adaptation was everything. On the Great Plains, mobile bands utilized complex hunting strategies to track massive herds of bison. Along the Pacific Northwest coast, wealthy, stratified societies built massive cedar longhouses, carved towering totem poles, and conquered the sea. They utilized controlled strategic forest burnings to completely clear out thick underbrush. This prevented wildfires and turned the continent into a managed game park. This was a thriving, ancient world. But on the horizon, an unprecedented shift was looming. Across the Atlantic Ocean, European kingdoms were growing crowded. Desperate for new trade routes, silver, and land, 3 wooden sailing ships slowly moved westward across the dark blue water toward the coastline. 1492. Two entirely different worlds, separated by millennia of geographic isolation, were about to collide in a spectacular, violent meeting. A collision that would rewrite human history, unleash devastating biological plagues, that would erase 90% of the indigenous population and lay bloody foundations. But the first attempt by England to stake its permanent claim wouldn't end in triumph. It would end in a chilling mystery, an entire colony vanishing into thin air. What actually happened to the lost settlers of Roanoke? Click subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified about our next episode. Let's uncover the Chronicle together.